Spider-Man: Far From Home is the sequel to Spider-Man: Homecoming and the newest movie in the MCU, the first to follow the Infinity Saga, or the first one to take place after Avengers Endgame. Everyone who knows me knows how much I love the MCU and how much I love Spider-Man. I have really enjoyed Tom Holland's portrayal as Spider-Man. So of course when it was announced that we would be getting a sequel to Spider-Man: Homecoming, I was very much looking forward to it, but I was also really looking forward to seeing how this movie would follow Avengers Endgame. Especially after seeing Avengers Endgame, I really wanted to see exactly where things were going to go from here for the MCU. This is essentially doing for this new saga of Marvel movies what Iron Man did for the Infinity Saga. It's basically kicking off a new saga. So lots really riding on this movie, not just to be a great follow-up to Spider-Man: Homecoming, but also to really springboard what could be the next chapter of Marvel movies. This movie takes place sometime after the events of Endgame. Peter Parker is still Spider-Man, he's still doing his thing. He's been doing a lot of charitable events that his Aunt May has been really wanting him to do. Probably wonders if maybe that was part of the deal when she discovered that he was Spider-Man. It's like, alright, I'll let you be Spider-Man, but you gotta do some things for me too. I guess I was kind of hoping maybe we'd get a flashback in this movie to how she officially responded when she discovered that Peter was Spider-Man, but I don't know. I guess I was able to buy into that she was able to accept that he does what he does. And basically around this time, because Spider-Man has now officially become an Avenger, because he helped save the universe and all that good stuff, a lot's riding on him to really pick up the slack now. He's basically the polar opposite of Homecoming. In Homecoming, he had to do everything in his power to get Happy to even respond to him. Now, Happy's going after him like, oh hey, Nick Fury wants to talk to you. Nick Fury has a mission for you, this and that. We need you to be a superhero. And Peter's like, I don't really want to do that. Because he's got this big Euro trip coming up with his classmates for the summer that he's really excited for. He's also hoping to spend some time with MJ because he wants to tell her how he feels. And this right here was an element that I really appreciated with this movie, because it does kind of explore on the opposite side of the spectrum. As I mentioned, in Spider-Man: Homecoming, Peter badly wanted to be a superhero. He wanted to really show to Tony Stark, to Happy, to really himself, that he's meant to be a superhero. He's meant to be in that same class with the other Avengers. But now, in light of the events that have happened in Avengers Endgame, Happy and Nick Fury and all these people who are basically running the Avengers are on him to really take over for it. Like, they want him to be the guy. And he's like, I'm a kid, like, I just want to enjoy my life. I want to go on this vacation. I want to have fun. I appreciate it because I think at this moment, Peter Parker is beginning to understand that there's really no such thing as finding a healthy middle in being a superhero. It's basically these new Spider-Man movies showing with great power comes great responsibility without needing to say it. And yeah, once again, Tom Holland just crushes it as Spider-Man. I'm honestly going to go so far to say I think he's beginning to really own this role. Owning it to the point where you look at some of the actors who have played superheroes. You look at Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. You look at Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. You look at those guys, you're like, only they could play those superheroes. Anyone else got casted, wouldn't have worked. I'm honestly beginning to feel the same way about Tom Holland's portrayal of Spider-Man. I know we've gotten other actors portray Spider-Man, and honestly, I'm a fan of their interpretations of the character. But really, for me, neither Tobey Maguire nor Andrew Garfield can hold a candle to Tom Holland. This guy just crushes this role. He owns it as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man to the point where I want Sony or Disney or whoever's running these Spider-Man movies just sign him to a lifetime contract. Have him play this role for as long as possible because no one else is going to do it as well. I really don't think anybody else will. He has that innocence to him. He has that awkwardness to him. He has that smart little nerdy side to him. But what I really love seeing in him is just the kid. I feel like he's getting a little overwhelmed by being a superhero. He's had all these press conferences. People are asking him a bunch of questions. He's like, I just saved the universe. I disappeared and then I came back. Like, I was basically gone from the earth for like 5 years. Can I just enjoy my life for a little bit? You feel like these adult superheroes, they were more prepared to take on the responsibility of being a superhero. Spider-Man is still a kid. He's not ready to have that responsibility. He doesn't want that level of responsibility yet. One of the areas I also really love that this movie did address were the events that happened in the last two Avengers movies. First, I'll start with how they addressed, when Thanos snapped his fingers and half the world just disappeared. We found out in Peter Parker's high school, I guess it became known as the blip, and, students would just disappear. Well, half the students disappeared just out of nowhere, and then, 5 years later, they all came back, And what I like seeing in the news anchor, one of the news anchors, he disappeared. And he's like, now my little brother's now my older brother because, you know, he stayed on Earth. He didn't vanish. 5 years later, he got older, he got taller than me, so now my little brother's my big brother. I like that the movie did address that. I mean, we do have to roll with the fact that everyone in Peter Parker's friend group, along with him, disappeared when Thanos snapped. But you know what, that's fine. I like this movie did address that there were characters that were affected by it. The other thing that I really love that this movie did address is what we caught glimpses of in the trailer, and that's seeing Peter dealing with Tony Stark's death. Because part of you does also feel like the reason he doesn't want to take on this responsibility is because you feel like it's him having to take the mantle from Iron Man, and he knows no one is ever going to be the next Iron Man. There's not going to be another Tony Stark. He's like, he doesn't want that responsibility. He's like, I don't want to have to pick up where he left off, because that's a really tough legacy to get to. You know, at this point, Peter's like, I'm just gonna go on my trip, gonna hang out with Ned, gonna hang out with my friends, I'm gonna try to get MJ to like me back. I did also like that in this movie they threw in another character named Brad, who's kind of also competing with Peter for MJ's affections. You know, you discovered that he was among those who stayed behind in 5 years, so he matured really well, you know, got very good looking, and Peter's looking at him and it's like, well, fuck, I can't compete with that. One day during the trip, though, Peter and the rest of the students, they get attacked by this giant water element looking guy. He starts, you know, just wrecking havoc among the city. He's gonna kill some people. Peter Parker knows, like, I have to stop him, but I'm on vacation, and I can't let anyone see me. But Peter, you know, has to do the thing where, you know, he just sneaks away and, you know, goes and fights this guy, Spider-Man, and no one suspects anything. I do like that the movie does hold true to how everyone in basically the Spider-Verse is a fucking idiot. It's just funny to see how literally at several times they even point out, it's like, hey, Peter disappeared when Spider-Man showed up. But nah, it's definitely not him. It couldn't be him. Anyways, Peter's trying to fight who I thought at the time was Hydra Man. Then all of a sudden, Quentin Beck, Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, he shows up, he fights the creature, he defeats it. And then it's later on that night, Nick Fury finally finds Peter, and he's like, alright, come with me, I need to show you something. So Nick Fury takes Peter to this lair, he introduces him to Mysterio, and we discover that Mysterio is from an alternate Earth. Apparently the snap created like a hole in the universe, or the multiverse rather. So Quentin Beck ended up here, and we discover Quentin Beck on his Earth, these elementals, these giant beings, like the water one that we saw earlier, they destroyed his world, destroyed his family. Now they've made it here, and he's here to help stop them. And what I like seeing right here is Peter Parker is still pulling the whole, it's like, look, I don't want to be involved in this. This is your fight. Look, I just want to be on the vacation with the girl I like. And Nick Fury's pulling the whole, it's like, you have a job to do. Are you going to step up or not? And it's around this point, Nick Fury gives Peter Tony's old glasses that he was using in some of the later movies, which apparently gives, when Peter wears them, access to Stark's weaponry. Well, not really his weaponry. A lot of these, like, you know, high-tech drones that can be used for really a multitude of purposes, including weaponry. I do really like seeing the stubbornness of Nick Fury in this movie. He's like, no, I'm not going to take no for an answer. So he, like, finds different ways to get the class that Peter's with, you know, his field trip, to where the catastrophe is going to happen, so Peter's gonna finally be forced to be involved. Unfortunately for Peter, it's resulted in Nick Fury basically cock-blocking him and his chances to get to MJ, whether it's, you know, to talk to her, to hang out with her, which is allowing Brad to basically swoop right in. But finally, Spider-Man and Mysterio, they have to take on the Fire Elemental, which is apparently the final of the elementals that are left. It's also the most powerful. Peter now gets to wear what, it's not the Spider-Noir suit, apparently. I thought it would be for a while, but I guess it's not. It's just like this spy Spider-Man suit they gave him. I think they... What was the name he gave her? I think it was Night Monkey. I don't know. I like the suit, though. It looked cool. But, you know, Mysterio and Spider-Man, they had their fight with this fire elemental. And, you know, this thing is really kicking ass, causing a lot of destruction. People are dying. Eventually, Mysterio is able to take it down. But this results in, you know, Peter and Beck just having a conversation together. And Peter's now beginning to think, he's like, I'm not ready to be Tony's successor. I'm not ready to be that guy. And he looks at Quentin Beck. He's like, you're ready for this. You were born for this. He's like, you're a leader. You take charge. You take action. You're powerful. You're good. It's like, you are who Tony's successor is. So he gives Quentin Beck the glasses, and Quentin Beck's like, alright, if this is what you want, I'll do it. I'll take up the mantle. And now this is where we run into what is supposed to be a holy shit moment in the movie, but more so for the casual moviegoers. For fans of Spider-Man like me, who know who Mysterio is, we knew this was coming at some point. After Peter Parker leaves, you see the bar that they're sitting in a lot of the things turned out to be holograms, a lot of the people, a lot of the atmosphere. And, you know, Quentin Beck, he just smiles and he's like, see, that wasn't so hard, was it? Now get this costume off of me. And here you see, oh, okay, yep, he is still Mysterio, he is the villain, and you discover that this was all part of his plan. It turns out Quentin Beck at one point worked for Tony Stark. He was the one who developed that hologram projector, you know, that scenery that Tony Stark used in Civil War that he named Barf to like show the story of his past when he said goodbye to his parents. Yeah, apparently Tony Stark kind of took that from Quentin Beck, then Quentin Beck was fired because he was seen as unstable. What he did is he took a group of employees who used to work for Tony Stark, including the guy who got screamed at by Obadiah Stane, the first Iron Man, when he was all like, Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps. And you find out Quentin Beck gives this big speech as Mysterio. He's all like, we all worked together, we all came together, and we created this amazing illusion. Yeah, it turns out that scientist, he was apparently using these drones that he created to spark these illusions that could actually cause legit damage. They designed this suit for Mysterio that's also an illusion that makes him look all powerful, that makes him look incredible, that makes him look like a superhero to normal people. Quentin Beck's brilliant idea has been, I'm gonna unleash these elementals onto the world, which are just holograms, which are just illusions. I'm gonna have them cause all this real destruction, cause these real casualties, and then when the moment strikes, I'm gonna get Peter to trust me. He's gonna hand over those glasses. Now I will have access to all of Stark's weaponry, all these drones, and now I'm gonna make an Avenger level catastrophic event with all this extra weaponry that I now have, and I will now save the world, and everyone will see me as the new superhero. They will see me as the newest Avenger. It's similar to The Incredibles when Syndrome was like, I'm gonna unleash this massive robot to cause chaos on this city. I'm gonna show up and I'm going to defeat it, and the world will see me as a superhero. It's later on in this night though, Peter finally gets a moment alone with MJ. You know, they're starting to talk a little bit more, and MJ at this point reveals like, oh yeah, I know you're Spider-Man, by the way, because it's very obvious. It's like, oh okay, well someone in this movie wasn't an idiot. It's at this point though, Peter and MJ discover what appears to be a piece of the drone from the fight with the fire elementals, and that's now got Peter thinking, okay, what could this mean? Turns out Quentin Beck now realizes this, and he's like, oh shoot, Peter has evidence that I'm a fraud, that this was all an illusion. Well, that means Peter has to die now. Now later on we get a throwdown between Mysterio and Spider-Man, and this was where we got some really great action because I really love seeing Mysterio use his powers against Spider-Man. Because what I love seeing is even though Mysterio is just a normal guy, seeing the way he uses his illusions, seeing the way he toys with Spider-Man, that's how he's able to beat him. He puts Spider-Man into these alternate freaky looking realities, like, you know, he's got Spider-Man walking into different things, walking into different areas, thinking he's seeing one thing, but it's not. At one point, Nick Fury shoots Quentin Beck, and you're thinking, oh, okay, Nick Fury saved Peter, and Nick Fury pulls oh, okay, who else did you tell about the drone thing? And, you know, Peter's like, oh, I told MJ, I told Ned, I told a couple other people, and then you find out Nick Fury is really still just Quentin Beck, and he's like, oh, well, now they need to die too. And then he is able to trick Peter into walking onto a train track, boom, gets hit by a train, and now Quentin Beck's like, alright, the plan's a full go, and I need to make sure those kids die. I really want to take a minute here to really talk more about Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, but I want to say right now, it's after when the big reveal happens, when Mysterio is officially revealed to be the villain. This is where Jake Gyllenhaal really shines as Mysterio. I mean, he was good as Mysterio when he was posing as a hero, but it's when you see him as a villain, that's where he really stood out. I love seeing the attitude he has. He's really smart. He's such a wordsmith in the speech he's giving. He feels empowered. He's kind of cocky. He's got that little arrogance to himself. I said going into this movie that I felt Jake Gyllenhaal would be the best actor to play Mysterio. He definitely was. Because I know Mysterio is a really tough villain to play, but he did it justice 100%. What I really want to give these new Spider-Man movies credit to, though, is how they've portrayed their villains. Like, I know the biggest critique with the MCU has always been the villains, but both Spider-Man movies have crushed it with the villains. And I think that's because what they did with Vulture, what they did with Mysterio, they made them guys who were just, you know, normal, hardworking people, you know, did what they did, and they both got really screwed over, so they were just like, alright, well, fuck everyone else, we're gonna go be supervillains. Peter does survive the hit by the train, he eventually reunites with Happy, and what I really love in this moment is, you feel like Peter at this point, he's like, this is too much for me, I miss Tony, I feel like I can't live up to him, I don't know what I'm doing. And finally, like, it's great seeing Happy kind of just really sit down with him, and he's like, I miss him too, but I can tell you right now, Tony would not have done what he had done if he didn't think you would be around after him. He believed in you when nobody else did. You know, it's the kind of talk that Peter really needs. He's like, alright, I'm ready to go back and fight because I gotta save my friends. And you know, it's right here, Happy reveals that there's one other thing that Tony had left for Peter, and it's this kind of machine that can create a Spider-Man suit, like a customized Spider-Man suit. So Peter starts tinkering with that. He's like, alright, I want the suit to have this, I want the suit to have that. Because now, thanks to the Edith glasses that Mysterio got from Peter, he's now able to create this giant, basically, storm cloud elemental thing that's just gonna absolutely destroy London and everyone who's in it. You got Happy coming in trying to save the kids, and Peter's going to fight Mysterio, but what I love seeing right here is he's begun to figure out exactly how these illusions work. He realizes, like, oh, that storm cloud, that thing, it's not real. Really, Spider-Man can just swing into the storm cloud elemental, you know, just sees all the drones in there, starts taking those things out, you know, where it can't defend itself. It's starting to really show the world exactly what it is. Quentin Beck's realizing that people are starting to see he's a fraud. He's like, oh shit. Spider-Man and Mysterio, they have another throwdown. And what I do like seeing is Mysterio is still able to put up a fight with Spider-Man, but Spider-Man is obviously well more prepared. I like seeing that growth. Spider-Man beats Mysterio, he gets the glasses back, and he orders the drones to be sent off, like, you know, the whole mission be executed. I'll get to that in a minute. Mysterio gets shot by one of the drones, he gets killed by that. Peter's able to reunite with MJ. He finally reveals, yeah, I like you. She's like, I like you too. They kiss. They're now a couple. The final scene shows them swinging in New York, but then we get a mid-credit scene, and I really love this mid-credit scene. I know I kind of really breezed through the end right there, but I really want to talk about this mid-credit scene. You see Spider-Man and MJ, they're just having a date, which just involves him, you know, swinging with her through New York, which is freaking her out. But then you see in the middle of Times Square, this big news video get released, and you discover that Mysterio, right before he died, he took a video and he recorded himself saying into it that Spider-Man just attacked me, he's attacking this entire world, he's sending these drones onto us to kill us all, and he gets a recording of Peter when he said, execute them all, and it's got people thinking, oh, that means he wanted the drones to execute all these people, which is now beginning to get people to think Spider-Man is a menace. And then we get a cameo that just had me freaking out in my chair, had me clapping, just had me like, yes! Finally! J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson appears on the big screen talking about how he hates Spider-Man, how Spider-Man is a villain, he should be strung up by his web. And I'm just like, oh, thank you, God, for making this possible. If they were ever gonna put J. Jonah Jameson back into a Spider-Man movie, that was the way they had to do it. I mean, just, like, J.K. Simmons is the only one who can play J. Jonah Jameson. I mean, I know J.K. Simmons had said for the longest time that, oh, if they asked me to come back, I would come back. He did come back, and that's awesome. I don't know if he'll be in the next Spider-Man movie. I hope he is, but even if he's just in this movie for that sole appearance, I'm good with that, because that was awesome. Totally worth it. But at the end of that video, we also see Quentin Beck saying to the camera, oh, Spider-Man's real identity is Peter Parker. So now, the whole world knows Spider-Man is a menace, and Peter Parker is Spider-Man, which has Peter sitting there like, fuck me. I'm really interested to see where that goes in the third Spider-Man movie, because we've never really seen a movie where the world knows that Peter is Spider-Man. And there's a lot of different possibilities this could go. I would love seeing Peter dealing with that kind of pressure, dealing with everyone knowing. And it's going to be interesting seeing a movie where everyone finally does know that Peter is Spider-Man. Unless maybe they pull the whole, oh, there's no way Peter could be Spider-Man. That's ridiculous. That's absurd. I don't know. We'll find out in a few years. Probably. We do get a post-credit scene, though. We do discover that, I guess, Maria Hill and Nick Fury this whole time were not actually Maria Hill and Nick Fury. They were two of the Skrulls from the Captain Marvel movie, and this whole time Nick Fury has been on a ship just overseeing something for the Skrulls. I know that scene was definitely more meant for laughs, but I don't know if it's also hinting at the next Captain Marvel movie or something else in the MCU. I don't really know. So all in all, Spider-Man Far From Home, this was a great movie. Tom Holland, once again, is great as Spider-Man. I'm really happy Jake Gyllenhaal ended up being as great a villain as he was as Mysterio. I like seeing the chemistry between Zendaya and Tom Holland, because I like seeing how their characters are both weird, awkward, you know, don't really know exactly maybe what to say to one another, but you do feel the chemistry. You do see they have a likingness to each other. I don't know if that's the word I should have chosen. They like each other. You can tell and neither of them, especially in Peter's case, really knew how to express it. I liked seeing that. It felt real. Peter and Ned, once again, had a great bromance. I love seeing their friendship in this movie. I like the story seeing Peter really understand more of the responsibility it takes to be a hero, you know, seeing what he now has to deal with. This movie had very well done action. I love how it explained the source behind Mysterio's powers. I felt it really worked for this movie. The big question is, how does it compare to Spider-Man Homecoming? For me, I liked Spider-Man Homecoming more because I liked how Spider-Man Homecoming, for me, felt more like a high school movie. Well, more so than this one did, I should say. I like seeing it explore on that aspect for Peter Parker because that's really important for Peter Parker. I also feel like Spider-Man Homecoming focused a little bit more on the humor side of Spider-Man. This one didn't as much. This one has humor and very effective humor at times, but it doesn't really focus on it as much with Spider-Man. Homecoming did, so I'm going to give the edge to that. In the end, this was a great sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming. It's a great movie to kick off this new saga of Marvel movies, and I can't wait to see what happens next. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe. I will see you all next time.